सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Mia Nawaz Sharif is back in Pakistan, and I acknowledge that some of you get triggered every time we talk about Pakistan. But you know what? We must talk about Pakistan when there is news. And the news right now about Pakistan is not so much cricket, it's about hard politics in Pakistan. Because Nawaz Sharif has yet another return, because Nawaz Sharif is a remarkable public figure anywhere, but remarkable even by Pakistan's standards, by the standards of Pakistan's unstable and mercurial politics where nobody lasts for very long. He is a survivor who keeps coming back, and how. So let me give you a few facts about Nawaz Sharif, who's just come back to Pakistan and held a humongous rally. If you see these pictures, these are drone pictures. Pakistan does have very large rallies. Unlike India, India has now moved on. It's very difficult to have a rally of any such size in India for anybody, because people are maybe too busy to go for rallies. So Indian rallies are usually 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. Even Prime Minister Narendra Modi's rallies, and he is very popular, is nowhere near this size. And I've seen this phenomenon in countries which have democracy, or which have democracy which is challenged. Because when democracy is challenged, then the masses express their yearning for democracy by turning out in large numbers on the street, or on the maidans as it's called. So that in Pakistan is a common phenomenon. So see the rally he had. Now if Imran Khan had come out, he would have had a rally of the same size. Similarly, Maulana Fazlur Rahman of the Islamic parties, if he had come out, he had also got a sizable rally. So Pakistan has that. But even by those standards, this rally was very large. And this rally also told you that Nawaz Sharif retains his popularity in Punjab. And if an election is held, as it will be held, without Imran Khan, as is most likely the case, because right now it doesn't look like the powers that be want Imran Khan out of the jail. And you know what? Imran Khan can't even complain, because last time he only became prime minister because the powers that be wanted him to become prime minister. Otherwise, he had not won the last election, nor had he been able to get a majority in parliament. Similarly now, the same powers that be do not want Imran Khan to be a prime minister. So it's likely there will be an election. It will be without Imran Khan. And if there's an election, in any case, Nawaz Sharif has a very strong popular appeal, which his brother doesn't have, Shehbaz Sharif doesn't have, would not have had. But with Imran Khan out, you know who the next leader is going to be. Now, for Nawaz Sharif to become prime minister, there'll be some legal issues. And you know what? In Pakistan, and I say this with apologies to Paolo Coelho, if the powers that be really want something, then all of the universe conspires to make it happen. Now, something like that might happen with Nawaz Sharif. There are many steps going ahead, reaching there. But look at the life of Nawaz Sharif. He's 73 years old. 73, not that old. 73 years old, born on 25th December 1949. Right? It's not that old. At 73, he's been prime minister thrice. That's more times than anybody has been prime minister in Pakistan. Benazir Bhutto has been prime minister twice. So he's been prime minister thrice. He's also served the longest number of years as prime minister. That is 9 years, but in 3 terms, right? 3 terms. And this is in a country where no prime minister as yet has completed 5 years in power. I know that some people will bend backwards and say, but what about Zulfikar Ali Bhutto? But remember, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto had initially come in as president. Then he became an elected prime minister. So that is the difference. No prime minister in Pakistan has served five years uninterrupted. Having said that, Nawaz Sharif has had 3 terms, a total of 9 years. Then he's been fired thrice. He's had the privilege of being fired thrice. Benazir Bhutto got fired twice. Nawaz Sharif got fired thrice, and each time by a different authority or a different person. So the first time he got fired, that was after his first prime ministership, which started in 1991. It was gone in July 1993. He was fired by Ghulam Ishaq Khan. Ghulam Ishaq Khan was then the president of Pakistan, all powerful. He presided over what is called as Pakistan's establishment, which we used to then spell with a capital E, which was a combination of the armed forces, the army top brass, top bureaucracy, and some other sort of opinion leaders in Pakistan who used to determine what is the future of Pakistan. Ghulam Ishaq Khan, GIK as he was called, he presided over that, and that constitution had the original amendment that gave the president the power to dismiss not just the government of the day, but government, national parliament, chief ministers of the states, and state provincial assemblies as well. So he used that power to fire Nawaz Sharif the first time in July 1993. The second time, I told you, fired 3 times, each time by a different guy or a different authority. Second time, he was fired by a general. That is when Musharraf staged that coup, when Nawaz Sharif tried to fire him and had him arrested and had him sent to jail on charges of plane hijacking. Second time, he got fired by a general. First time was 1993. Second time was 1999. In fact, October 12, 1999. And third time was in 2017, 16th August 2017. This time he was fired by the Supreme Court of Pakistan. And this was that famous or infamous case where on a completely frivolous case, it was a corruption case in which no movement of money had been proven. It wasn't shown that he had received any money or any quid pro quo. That is because Supreme Court declared him unqualified to hold public office because he was held to be not Sadiq or Amin. That means held to be not truthful and true to his word. Now, if you applied that test, you know how many people will be public figures anywhere in the world, forget Pakistan. But that is how he was fired the third time. So 3 times prime minister, 3 times fired. And I will tell you one more box that he checks on his very fascinating CV. And that box is, of all the Pakistani politicians, he spent the longest time in exile. I mean politicians, the longest time in exile. That is 12 years. 8 years the first time, that is 1999, when Musharraf fired him. Musharraf staged a coup, threw him out, sent him to Adiala jail, then filed cases against him. In those cases, he was about to give him the death sentence. That's where the king of Saudi Arabia, King Fahd, he intervened and he said, no, he's our friend, he should not be hanged. And he made a deal with Musharraf. Musharraf, in fact, later wrote in his autobiography that if the king of Saudi Arabia had not intervened, Nawaz Sharif would have been executed. So in which case, he would have been the second elected prime minister to be executed. The third elected prime minister was assassinated. That is Benazir Bhutto. But at that point, she was not the prime minister. So Nawaz Sharif escaped that because King Fahd intervened. King Fahd then took him away in exile to Jeddah, where Nawaz Sharif built a home for himself. There is a villa. Also, he gave him a little bit of a loan to start a steel factory there because Nawaz Sharif's original business is running steel mills. It was also said that he'll be in exile at least for 10 years and not participate in politics for 21 years. That was all part of the deal. But you know what? As politics changes, these deals also change direction. So by 2007, Musharraf had begun to look weak because Musharraf had done many stupid things. He is the stupidest leader I have met in my life. Stupidest political leader or any other leader of any kind I have met in my life. And God knows that I have met many leaders, not just in India or Pakistan, but elsewhere too. But he was the stupidest. He did many idiotic things while he was the dictator, one of which was also taking on his Supreme Court because I thought he was so powerful he could do anything. So when he was looking weak, that was around time that Benazir Bhutto came back from her exile, her second exile in Dubai. That's the reason I had to think very, very carefully and get the date sorted before I said that Nawaz Sharif has spent more time in exile than any politicians in the region, or maybe any politician anywhere, any politician in a democratically elected environment anywhere. So if I look at him, he spent 12 years in exile, that is 1999 to 2017, that is 8 years, and now again 2018 to 2023, 18 and to 2023, say about 4 more years, so about 12 years plus in exile. Benazir Bhutto, on the other hand, 1984 to 86, she was in self-exile. She had come out of jail. In the process of her father's assassination, Ziaul Haq had sent her to jail. He had jailed her in very harsh conditions. So she was in jail. Then she went into self-exile in 1984. Until 1986. In fact, I got my second visa to go to Pakistan when Benazir Bhutto was coming back in 1986. And I covered that story for India Today. It was a cover story. It was the cover story of that fortnight. I will try and share a link with you. You can take a look at that. It was, in fact, my second visit to Pakistan. I had got my first visa to go to Pakistan in the summer of 1985. That's when Sikh hijackers of an Indian Airlines aircraft were being tried in Lahore, and to try and demonstrate that Pakistani judicial process was working, the Pakistanis said, we'll let Indian journalists go there. And that is when they let me go and also let me travel for 10 days all across Pakistan. Those days we used to get visas, which were called police reporting visas. So as you went to every city, first you were limited to cities you could go to. In my case, then it was Lahore, Islamabad, Rawalpindi, the same city, Peshawar and Karachi. The moment you were landed in the city, you had to go to a police station, report, and get the local police to stamp a form that you carried with you right through that travel. Now, 86, she came back to Pakistan. That was 2 years. And once again, she was in exile for 8 years, 1999 to 2007. Now, I know that most of you are Gyanis on Pakistan, so I don't have to explain this to you. But why were she and Nawaz Sharif both in exile for identical period from 1999 onwards? I know you know the answer. That's because Musharraf came over then. He took over then. And he said all of Pakistan's problems are because of politicians, and party politics goes. Democracy goes for now. We'll see what happens. Or at least electoral democracy goes for now. In fact, he did once lecture me in a public forum. I think it was the India Today Summit, where he said that I have a better democracy. Pakistani democracy under me is better than democracy in your country. So around time, Benazir Bhutto came back. Nawaz Sharif also came back. But Nawaz Sharif's return had a little twist. And the twist or the knot was that he was committed under that Saudi brokered accord to not come back as yet and not participate in politics for 21 years. Now, when that happened, immediately as he landed, Musharraf had him sent back. Musharraf had him sent back, hoping that the Saudis will now detain him and not let him come back. But the Hawa had changed, right? I told you, when the powers that be wish for something to happen, all of the universe, Paulo Coelho, all of the universe conspires to make sure that it happens. So the Saudis in this case told Musharraf that, look, this is not fair. Let him come back. You have politics, you have elections. He's a good guy. We know him well, because by that time, Musharraf had lost all goodwill. Musharraf was a loser by that time. So Nawaz Sharif came back. In the elections that followed, because Benazir Bhutto was assassinated on 27 December 2007, there was a sympathy waivers of sorts. So PPP, her party got more seats. PML, Nawaz's party, did not do too badly, but by this time there was also a kind of détente between his party and the Bhutto party, because both of them were victims of Musharraf. That was a kind of season of democratic political spring in Pakistan. And that, by the way, has not ended, because that thaw that came about between sworn enemies, that is Benazir Bhutto's party and Nawaz Sharif's party, that continued. They never said anything that rude about each other. They used to be quite abusive about each other in the past. Now, no longer so. In fact, even now, the government that rules Pakistan is a coalition between both these parties. So they were united because they figured that the powers that be in Pakistan were not letting any of them complete their full terms, but also sending them to jail, exile, threatening them with execution and assassination, which in one case, unfortunately, came out to be true. Benazir Bhutto was assassinated. So that has united these old adversaries. And that situation continues in Pakistan even now. In the very beginning of this episode, I told you a bunch of things about Nawaz Sharif. About how many times he's been fired and by whom, how many times he's been prime minister, how many years he spent as prime minister. All of that's interesting. But there is one more very interesting thing about him. And that is something that nobody gives him credit for, because we also have a broad brush view of Pakistan. All Pakistan, all Pakistanis. All Pakistan and all Pakistanis are not the same. There is no unanimity on anything in Pakistani politics or in the Pakistani establishment / politics. There, if you see the characters in Pakistani politics, you would normally think that Benazir Bhutto, Pakistan People's Party, and her successors now. That is because that is a left of center party. That is a more liberal party. Now, socially, it might be a more liberal party. And you would think that because it's socially a more liberal party, it's a less Islamic party, it should be a less anti-Indian party, or party should be less hostile to India. Nawaz Sharif's party, on the other hand, PML, Nawaz now, Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz. Pakistan Muslim League has had as many letters added to it in parenthesis as the Congress party in India. Several of them in the course of time, because they've had many splits. That is the parent party or grand old party of Pakistani politics, the Muslim League. That party is a conservative Islamic party. It believes in Islamic law. Every time it comes into power, they bring in some elements of Islamic law here and there. Nawaz Sharif himself, his family are very devout in their religious practice. And you would then expect that a right-wing, socially conservative party, which is more inclined towards the Islamic system, will be more hostile to India. In Pakistan, the story is the opposite. It is Benazir Bhutto. Lately, no Bhutto has been that powerful, although Bilawal Bhutto's speeches at the UN also and elsewhere, he's been as reckless in his utterances on India as his late mother used to be. But his late mother it was who, when she was really concerned in 1990-91 that she might lose power, she was using language like Jagmohan ko jag jag, mo mo, han han kar denge. She also repeated her father's threat. Her father had grandly pronounced that Pakistan will fight a 1,000-year war against India. His daughter, following on, repeated the same boast of fighting a 1,000-year war against India. And then Bilawal Bhutto has also said things that don't even look good on him, because he seemed to be a more modern, educated person. But he's used language so hostile about India that I don't think anybody in Pakistani politics has used in the last 25 years, not even Musharraf, except maybe Imran Khan. Nawaz Sharif, on the other hand, if you go back on his utterances, speeches, interviews, he's always stated his official position, national position on Kashmir, etc. But he's never said something warlike or hostile with India. In fact, if anything, he has suffered more than once for being seen as soft on India. That happened in 1999 when it seemed like, because he distanced himself from Kargil, saying, I didn't know what was happening. And he engaged with Vajpayee government and let Clinton intervene and bring about a de-escalation and a disengagement in Kargil. And that was a big humiliation for Pakistani army. So the second time when he lost his power, it was because he was seen to be soft on India. Once again, 2017, the dice got loaded against him. The immediate provocation was that he had signed a joint declaration with Narendra Modi, no less, in which Kashmir was not mentioned. And that is when Imran Khan, on cue from the army, started the slogan, Modi ka jo yaar hai, kaum ka gaddar hai. And before that, he had also received Modi with great enthusiasm. That's when Modi had broken journey on his way back from Kabul. That was a surprise. He'd broken his journey in Pakistan to greet Nawaz Sharif on his birthday and for his granddaughter's wedding. So all of this was then put together by the establishment, the army, at that point, which was uneasy, and Imran Khan. And Imran Khan started the slogan, Modi ka jo yaar hai, kaum ka gaddar hai. That is when the whole system turned against him. And the army also decided that Imran Khan was now going to be their candidate. Because by this time, the Pakistani army still thought that they could achieve something by using pressure against India. They had not yet given up the idea of using whatever terrorism, subversion, whatever methods they have, low intensity conflict to achieve some political purposes in India, particularly in Kashmir. It is still 2017. And that's when all these marches and morchas and bandhs started, and he went downhill, his power went downhill. By 2018, as we told you, Supreme Court on a completely irrational judgment, got rid of him, had him sent to jail, and once again, in this case, the powers that be to Pakistan's west, not as far as London or America, but once again, the Saudis and others got involved because they have a big role in Pakistan. They got involved. He was allowed to go overseas on health grounds. Finally, he moved to London and he lived in London all this while. From there, he was running his politics. By this time, however, the system there had begun to get fed up of Imran Khan. What happened in this case was that Imran Khan ran ahead of himself and ran ahead of his backers also, because Imran Khan thought that now that I've got this power and I've got a few slogans, I can collect crowds. I'm more popular than the Sharifs. I have discredited the Sharifs. In any case, the Bhuttos are discredited, at least outside of Sindh, and Sindh relatively is a small province in Pakistan. Punjab is what matters, Punjab, and then KPK, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa also. Imran was powerful because he leaned on the fundamentalist side. He leaned not just on the Islamic side, on the side of political Islam, but he leaned on the fundamentalist side. And he now thought that he could front run his army as well. First of all, it was an irrational and ego-driven mindset. And second, the timing was wrong. And that's the reason we say he had gotten ahead of himself, because by this time, the geopolitical situation globally, but also in the immediate neighborhood of Pakistan had changed. Because by this time, India had had economic growth of many years. Pakistani economic growth actually had not only stalled, but Pakistan's economy had begun to collapse. After Osama bin Laden's killing, the West, particularly the Americans, had lost interest in Pakistan. And as it looked that Imran Khan and his government were colluding with the Taliban to ensure America's defeat, the Americans lost even more interest in Pakistan. As that began to happen, and then we know India made those changes in Kashmir on 5th of August 2019, Imran Khan took this extreme step of recalling his High Commissioner, stopping all trade, all contact, then going to the UN, etc., and calling Modi government and the BJP and the RSS Nazis, etc., which was like saying we can never have any talks with India, or we cannot live in peace with India or any normalcy with India as long as India did not change its government. Now, that is where the Pakistani army began to get impatient with him, because they realized that power differential between them and India had become large already, and it becoming larger every year. The gap was rising. And they also noticed that even on the economy, per capita incomes, the gap between them and Bangladesh was also rising. And that's when they decided to give up on Imran Khan. Now, and that is how the wheel has turned full circle. So in the past, it was the army which had gotten rid of Nawaz Sharif, once directly Musharraf, and once in cahoots with Ghulam Ishaq Khan, because Ghulam Ishaq Khan could do nothing unless the army backed him. Then they brought in Imran Khan to finish the Sharifs. Now it is the army, because if they had to get rid of the menace of Imran Khan, because he did something that nobody else had done in Pakistani politics as yet. He frontally challenged the Pakistani army and the chief. So he was completely unacceptable. Now, to challenge him and to sideline him and to balance the politics in Pakistan, the army had no choice to bring in Nawaz Sharif. So he comes in for his fourth attempt at power with those tailwinds now. And you can see some of the indications from the first speech that he delivered. Among the many things he said in the speech, one of the very interesting and significant things he said was that no country can progress if it has constant hostility, if it's in a state of war with its neighbors. And that is something that he has consistently said. I told you that he's the one leader in Pakistan who's never really used warlike language vis-a-vis India. And he said, no country can do it. You have to do something about it. He gives you his boilerplate lines on Kashmir. It's not as if any Pakistani leader will say, I have no case on Kashmir. But he is speaking a language which is completely contrary to what Imran Khan has been saying. But it's very consistent with what Nawaz Sharif has been saying in the past. And it's very significant that he drew a comparison between Pakistan's per capita income and Bangladesh's. Today, Bangladesh is almost $1,100 ahead of Pakistan. Where Pakistan is just about 1,500, 1,600. Bangladesh is about 2,500. And that gap is growing. Similarly, India is about that much. And with India's growth rate again picking up now, that gap will increase even more. So Pakistan at this point, Pakistan is among the poorest countries not in the world, but in the subcontinent. Sri Lanka, Maldives, they're already way ahead of not just Pakistan, but India as well, India and Bangladesh as well. So Pakistan is today the poorest large country in the subcontinent. That is something that Nawaz Sharif has underlined, and that is something that we should also take note of.